Hello, Charito. Hello, Leslie. Nice to have you here today.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, and I'm very sorry for the delayed link, but thanks to Charito, at least 10 minutes before the start. Thanks a lot. So let's start. I will switch my camera off. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the next Industry 5.0 Power of Touch event, in which we meet every week, every Wednesday, with the members of my global Industry 5.0 family to take one word out of English vocabulary and spend 40 minutes with it. And today there will be no exception, but new will be the word, as every week. And the word today is yes. So simple it is. And Charito, because having you on the top of my screen today, I would like to start with you. So when you heard few seconds ago that the term will be yes, what came first to your mind, please?
Oh, good evening, Leslie and Michael. Well, for me, yes is an affirmation. It's a consensus or a consent or approval. In fact, for me, it's the opposite of no. It's an English word expressing, you affirm for what is being said. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Leslie, what about you? And yes, what came to your mind, please?
Well, good morning, everybody. It's very early here. Yes. Well, of course, the opposite, as Dorito brings up, is the opposite of no. But with yes comes a commitment, and yes is your word. So when I say yes, I will do something, along with the word yes comes an agreement or a commitment to take or not to take certain action. So then the word yes now has responsibility with it rather than just agreement. It's an agreement to do or not to do something. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much. You know, it's quite interesting. In my country, the term yes in Czech language, it sounds ano, A-N-O, ano is yes in Czech, is the name of political party. And nobody knows what it should mean. And I look back in a history, and in 1939 till 1943, I think, was in Italy a political party led by Benito Mussolini, so fascist party, and it was called C, which is in Italian yes. So it's quite interesting that time to time in a history, someone takes the term yes and turn it into something very different, because if somebody asks before the election, do you want to go to, do you, will you go to elections? The answer will be yes. And they ended the interview and they said, we have next vote. And it was quite interesting how misleading it can be. And Charito, do you remember some of your yes, the strongest one which you ever faced?
That's quite interesting. Nothing really astounding, to make me remember. I have so many yeses in my life, and there were no's. Um, well, that was when I passed my exams, the PRCs. I told myself, yes, yes, it's an expression of joy because I passed the exam. So it's a yes for them. So when I passed all those exams, I was the one saying yes, yes, yes. But when we have uh, in real estate, every time a sale is closed, or we did something positive, we always say it's a yes for us. When we close deals, it's a yes coming from our clients. So those are resounding, especially in my Roland's deals. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Charito. Leslie, I will ask you the same question. Is there any yes which you remember much strongly than the other ones?
Yes. In fact, there were two times, and both of them I broke my word when I said I would marry someone before God and family. And with that, that I would respect and honor the marriage agreement, which is the only agreement that I've ever agreed to that included God. And yet, the challenging or interesting thing is how many of us break that covenant, the yes we gave to do or not do certain things, and we were unable to keep it. And most people are faced with that. The simplest breaking is, of course, stepping outside your marriage, right, and sleeping with another, or certainly in Western, the marriages that I was involved in. Okay, so breaking the covenant, it's like breaking one of the Ten Commandments. So the question that comes up with that is, if human beings won't even follow a yes that they perform or they um, choose to agree to, and they're unable to keep it, knowing that that's their intention, but also understanding that that may not be true, then you wonder, well, why would I do business with anybody if we can't even keep our own word with the highest commitment, promised before God that we would do these things and we can't do that, then who can we trust? Who do we do business with? Is it how many times you break the vow? Is it acknowledging the vow? Why must we include that in the vow? We can't necessarily change it. We can for ourselves individually. So, then the next level is when we decide we're going to have children. So there were two yeses there, and those didn't happen overnight. Those took, a little doing. So that's my share for this piece. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much. And both of you know that I will get married soon on August 18th. Oh, sorry, August 15th this year, and it will be my second marriage. So I know what, Leslie, you are talking about. We did not marry. My first marriage was not in church. I do not. I'm not a religious person. Uh, but living for 13 years in a marriage which was broken was hard. And just now, it's unbelievable how I am looking forward this moment to say my next yes to Jane. But asking about yes, Charito, you have mentioned that no is the opposite of yes. And my question for you, and the same probably for you, Leslie, after, will be, is it easier for you to say yes or to say no?
Yeah, oh, that is an interesting question, Michael. But for me, it's not about the easiness or the how fast you can say, easier said to say yes or no. It always depends on the situation. Why is my yes being asked to be given? It has to have, you know, a subject in it. I just don't say yes if there's not something there good for me, right? Or no when it is not good for me. So I haven't think of it that way. Like it's easier or harder to say yes than no, or say no than yes. But I would say it depends on the situation. Whatever it is, whatever I say, what yes or it's no, I made sure of it that it has to be something that is good for me, for my family or whatever, in that situation being asked. Back to you, Leslie. Oh, Michael.
It's fine. It's the same question for Leslie. So, Leslie, is it easier for you to say yes or no?
It's easier to say yes. No is the hard one because you only need to look at group meetings, school meetings with children, parent teacher meetings, church meetings, any kind of community meeting where there is an action where everybody, right, for the greater good of the group, let's just say, for example. So, and I've experienced this, and you have too. And this happens repeatedly. You've got people saying yes to support an effort, but most of them break their word and don't show up. Thinking things such as, the other people will take care of it. Oh, there's so many people. No one will notice if I don't help. And then what happens is you've got the same core group of people. So you've got a lot of people easily saying, yes, I'll help. But then they break their word and have some sort of justification why it doesn't matter that they've broken their word. So for me, the word no is a boundary that has been crossed, and it's harder. It's easy for me to say yes because I want to help. That's my nature. But what happens is that you lose concentration and focus when you say yes to too many things. And you've lost self-respect because you're not keeping your word and you continually break your word, right? That you will do something. And again, whether it's Girl Scouts or whatever meeting it is, whatever walk of life, you'll see that there is a core group of people that keep their word, a small group. And the rest simply can't be counted on. And it's funny because if you have an emergency in the middle of the night, who are you going to call to help? Someone from the small core of people who always keep their word? Or are you going to pick someone that you already know can't be depended upon, particularly if, it's an emergency? So, no is the harder because no is standing up for yourself, your own values, your own morals, and realizing that you cannot always be there, and there's something not quite right about saying you'll do something over and over again and never doing it. I'll end it there. Thank you, Michael and Jarito.
Thank you very much, Leslie. I do agree with that. I have myself for a long time, I have a problem to say no if somebody asks me for help. And sometimes they ask me just before I was not able to say no. Not because they cannot do the work themselves. They just use my weakness, my politeness, we can say, because they know that if I say yes, I will deliver what I promise. So this is exactly what you just mentioned. But unfortunately, there are many who just misuse this human, I will say, humanity or part of humanity, the will to help, even if it's pretended. Just today, it was published, I don't know whether you have heard about the Airshot Prize. It was, I think, in 2019 introduced by Sir David Attenborough and Prince William, and they gave 1 million to 5 companies per year, £1 million. The companies should do something for the planet and so on. So, and today the Bloomberg Philanthropies publish a statement that they will add to this 1 million, 250 million, I think, to protect the oceans. You know, and when I watched the speech of the CEO and the room filled with well-dressed people who just clapped their hands together for this promise, I was thinking myself, is it really yes to protect the planet, or is it pretending that they will do something? Because they just forward money which came from someone who probably destruct or damage the planet. So is it a real yes and happiness, or is it just pretending? And I think this easy way to say yes, but knowing that they will not do it, it's pretending action. And this has nothing to do with the reality. I am really looking forward my next yes with Jane. And it is not because I would like to get married without any obligation, without anything, just to be married. No. I would like to get married to spend the rest of my life with Jane. Today I received my official ID with the name Michael. And you know, it's wonderful. I finally said yes to my life. I finally make big change. And it is unbelievable. Is there anything, Cherito, which you know that you will not say yes to it? If somebody asks you, will you, I don't know, I give, for example, and I give an example. Will you, Cherito, come with us to rob the bank? I think you immediately say no. But sometimes they are asking in a way which is very hard to say no. It can be the group mentioned by Leslie. Do you remember something like that, Charito, where it was really, really hard to say no?
Well, there was an instance, it's political. I was in a group that was before, and I was asked to jump over, that's the term, to follow them, the other group. It was very hard. I said no. It's hard to say yes because the party that I was in was owned by somebody who gave me big transactions. So it's self-serving. All my deals. It's a huge company developer. So since I started until now, they're giving me the big ones. And so I stuck it out with them. So it's always yes with them. So when the political arena, got muddled out, when people, like the fruit balimbing here in they jump over another fence, this and that. A lot of my friends said, come with us because of this or that. But my loyalty always is to be honest, I will always be loyal and I will never be unloyal unless something wrong has been done to me. But in all honesty, I am loyal because our relationship was mutual. They helped me, I helped them. So it was hard for me to say yes. I said no. So was that your question, Michael?
Yes, yes. Thanks a lot for the answer. Leslie, was it easier for you to say no when you was a child, Or is it easier today?
Oh, well, I think it was easier to say no as a child, right? Because it was as a child, when you're faced with a yes or no question, you don't have the fears, you don't have the deep masks or rules or emotional intelligence to think through these things. And so there isn't the fear of retribution to say no. You know, most times we're going to say no because as adults, we're worried what other people will think of us, which is the fear of judgment and criticism. Oh, well, they won't think a lot of me. What if I say no? I should say yes because I want to look a certain way in the world. I want to present an identity in the world of an agreeable person because it's an easier route for adults, right? So with a child, though, the younger they are, the more easily they say no. If you think about toddlers, no, no, no. Once they get the word and they've heard it from their parents, but once they employ the word no, it becomes for a period of time their answer to everything. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Charito, do you think that the animals have yes and no as well?
Yes, I think so, Michael. If especially the dogs, right? Sometimes, especially the dogs are very close to you. There are instances like sometimes they said, their actions would stop you from walking towards something when they know you are being endangered. Animals do that. I don't know how the others, but as we can read everywhere, animals have feelings like fathers and mothers, and they have the tendency to be, attached to their the people they lived with, the one who attended to them, who fed them, and all that. So you said animals, all animals.
Yes,
And
animals, yes.
I have animals have feelings, right? But not like us. But they have this instinct, motherly instinct, or yeah, the instinct to care, to protect their family, their siblings, like their flock, whatever. So, but in reality, I could say like our dogs, my dogs before. Uh, there was a time he stopped me from many instances. You just right in front of you, you stop because, and that's a no, right? When you're walking because something there is not good for you. But my dog, he was hit by it was hit by a jeepney, and he was a kind of animal, a dog who has feelings. He danced with us, he laughs with us, like acts with us, so many things. And when you say "Kak, come," he goes with my children. When they go out, they play with him. And then we said, "You have to go home this time." My children, they go home, even if they wanted to play more than the dogs and all that, they kept running back. Those things, I cannot explain it well, but animals have feelings, especially dogs, even cats. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much. Leslie, I see that you have something to add for sure.
No, I just hit the button by mistake.
All right, but I will ask you something different. You spoke
Okay.
many times about the pendulum and the balance and everything. Do
Yeah.
you think that yes and no are on the edges of pendulum?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. I think perhaps that what moves the pendulum are doing the hard things, which is saying no when you want to say yes. The pendulum moves from positive to negative, back to positive, back to negative, and there's a spectrum that we go through to reach the pinnacle of each rotation. And I like to liken that to growing in conscious awareness of our true infinite potential. While we never actually achieve perfection, as we aspire to be our word more and more, and we grow in emotional intelligence and we set boundaries, this has us move from one side to another. So is yes or no at the you could say no, I don't think so. I think that the polarity yes and no will be with you regardless of where you are with the swing of the pendulum. So I wouldn't say that when you reach the pinnacle you're either at yes or no. I guess you could look at it that way. You could visually see yes and no, and it's a short swinging pendulum. When I think of the pendulum, I think of a very big pendulum that takes time, that moves very slowly from one side to the other. And you see the results match in how your world shows up. So if you've had something bad happen to you or unfortunate, what we know for sure is the universe will give us a matching opposite. So that's the law of rhythm, is for every up there is a down. So the difference is we don't know exactly when the opposite will show up. The lesson there is that when something bad or unfortunate happens, regardless of how long it takes, then you know something good is on its way. And if something bad happens, you've experienced good. We just don't know when the pendulum will swing. So we have to be looking up all the time. When anything unfortunate happens, immediately look up and be watching for people or opportunities that will come and fulfill with you that exact opposite. And the reverse is also true. If good things are happening, something negative is going to happen. You don't know the intensity of it. It could be light, but the universe will give you back the exact match. So today I might have something minor negative happen, but I've had such great things happen to me that there has to be a balance, right? So the universe knows to move the pendulum. Oh gosh, well I guess I've gone down a rabbit hole, so I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you, Leslie. Charito, in the words by Leslie, she used the terms negative and positive. And following question came to my mind. Do you think, Charito, that yes is automatically a positive word or positive emotion or anything? Do you think it's only positive or not?
Well, sometimes a yes may bring negative feelings. Like, say, for example, you have work and you have managers and all that. You're already tired, but since you need to stay longer, it will make you physically drained, of course. But you have to say yes because you have to take an overtime. And that yes is a positive in the form of the higher ups, but it would be negative in the sense that you're physically um, not how will I say that, physically in a disadvantaged. So I always say that it depends. Yes can become negative if something not pleasant happens to you. Will it give you emotional hurt, or you feel down because of the yes that you have to say, or you have to give way to others and you have to say yes? Giving way sometimes makes you feel down emotionally. So, yes, that's true, relative, according to Leslie. So that's it. And a no also may not be that negative, but give you a positive feeling. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much. It's quite interesting. When I told you about a political party called Yes, I just thought, okay, let's create one which will be named No. And the explanation of these two terms, of these two words, it's we are not uh, we are not elite, we are not elite, so we are humans. And of course, nobody or no politician establishment will approve such a political party with the term no. But for me, it will be a very positive one. But I do not want to do anything with politics except of ending all politics in the world. That will be the best what can happen. But speaking about, I asked Charity about yes, and I know Leslie that you deal a lot of with energy and things related to that. Uh, do you feel, or is it possible to say that yes have more positive energy, or and no the negative one, or it is opposite way, or it is all the time depending on the situation?
I think I understand your question. So I think that, as I said in the chat, that it's relative, that we get to decide whether it's positive or negative. So, for example, let's say that Chirito said, Leslie, let's go rob a bank. And I say, yes, but I know that it's wrong. So it has to have to do with the way you're feeling when you generate or speak the word yes or no. Typically, yes has a positive side to it, no has a negative. But that was just an example of saying yes for a negative outcome in some people's view. Now, Chirito and I may have convinced ourselves that robbing the bank is the right thing to do for our family, right, for ourselves, never mind all the people that we're stealing from, right? We're not thinking about that. We're being very selfish. So in that case, the yes should be a no. And yet, what we've done is we have assigned a certain feeling and justification to saying that robbing that bank is a yes. It's a yes for us, but it's not a yes for others in many cases. Um, so I guess the question is primarily yes and no have the positive and negative charge to them, but we can change that. Human beings can change that energy, as you brought up, by what we believe and how we think of what we're going to do. So the yes for us to rob the bank is very positive because we have built a case for why perhaps we deserve that, right? But again, for other people, it's not okay. So I think, again, it's relative and we assign meaning to different things. And I really like that you picked the word yes and that we've done this investigation today because uh, it is it's relative, and that's one of the universal laws. Every single human being has their own view of what's right, wrong, good, or bad. And no two are exactly the same. And so each one of us is absolutely accurate and correct from our point of view. It just may not work for other people. You've heard about the person who says, well, you should do it this way. You should do it this way. Don't do it this way. Follow my instructions. So what I hear is, okay, then I should give up and surrender my own virtues and values, my own integrity, and follow yours. You're asking me to give up my values when you tell me you should do it this way. Unless you're a world class expert and you have proof that your method is absolutely pristine or has the scientific background, then why am I giving up my virtues and values because you said I should? And I'll end it there.
Thank you very much, Leslie. And I'm really happy that we have this word today. It came to me today in the morning because I think it was the right time and the right place. And I am checking all the time, all the recordings to check whether we have the word or not. The second word which came to my mind was day. But we already spoke about day and we spoke already about night. But what we did not spoke about the term yes, which every one of us use so many times during our life. And even during this discussion, when I asked the question, uh, 2 or 3 times you started your answer with yes. That's a good question. And it is interesting. The term is very interesting. And I think there is packed much more than we can discover. And I will be very happy if every single one who will listen to this conversation will stop for a while and think about it. Because, as I said, for me, it was very hard to say no for a long, long time. And it has negative consequences for me in a health issue. I work overtime a lot of because if being asked, can you do it for us? I have to go home. I said, yes, of course, I will do it. And I spend more time in work than at home. And it is so interesting. And I do understand, thanks to Leslie and Charita, to you, this group pressure, which is being established on many occasions, where it's easy to say yes, but it's very hard to say no and stand for the same values and virtues as Leslie described. We have 1 minute left.
Michael,
And
Michael,
sorry?
that's a topic that we can talk about another time, but about the group think. It's called interim agreement,
Mm-hmm.
which is just because people all agree that something happened a certain way doesn't mean it did. So that's that group pressure interim agreement.
Thank you very much, Leslie. And I have to say thank you to you because we spend again 40 minutes riding on the back of a language towards wasteless world. And I think this understanding is very important for every single one of us and even for the future of humanity. So have a nice time free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, be human, and don't worry to say no because stay
Yes.
for your virtues and values. Have a nice day and see you in 1 week time. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Charito.